public
This is
hearing.
information.
Yep, and we'll set the public hearing for the next month and
Okay,
get through it and put the change through.
so we don't have to make any motion on that tonight?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it will be on next month's agenda.
For the public hearing and
For public
recommendation,
comment
yeah.
and for our approval or recommendation. Okay? So that's that. Any other comments from the public about that? Elena?
No.
Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes from the June 27, 2019 meeting. And,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 27th.
I'll second that.
all in favor? Aye? Okay,
Okay.
all good. I didn't get a chance to read them, so if I do find something, I'll recall.
Can I ask a question? Not about approving the minutes, but I just had a note in there about Mayor Reddish had said he would look into whether a business district exists, and I just wondered if you had heard that from that.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
Okay, any other comments on the minutes? Okay. That's about that. All approved. Public comment? Anybody? Board members?
I guess since that one came up about Simmons up at Moose Lake, I will tell you what, I'll just give you a little overview of what happened. Essentially, I don't even know, I didn't go up to the site meeting, I did go to the meetings down here. But essentially, I don't know if any of you guys were here when they did these Moose Lake tracks. So up along, on the project Vote Smart land, there's 17 lots. And these are probably two of the driest that are up there. And they all run right along the river there. They're all most of them are pretty wet. But they're existing lots sitting in there.
Who did it?
It was done by, Bill Bear did the survey, it's probably back in the 80s. And it's a subdivision of record, so the lots exist. And Project Vote Smart's always owned all of them, because they're kind of right in the middle of that big field. They chalk up the big field kind of in the middle. But when, of course, it's sold, for whatever reason, they sold two of them off to a gentleman from Missoula. And he bought them, and he was wanting to put a house up there, or a cabin, and the groundwater is too close to the surface. So the DEQ laws do allow you to put a sanitation system into fill, but you have to get a variance to do it. It used to just be allowed, but now you have to get a variance to do it because it's not their preferred method. They want you to put it into the natural ground if you can.
They do a mound system.
And if you can't, well, it's a standard system in fill. So they bring in like a zillion pounds of fill and put it, yeah, build a hump, but it's not technically a mountain system. I mean, I don't understand all the technicalities of all that stuff.
What that does is, you have your septic tank and the effluent goes in, and then there's a pump in there. And it pumps it into they usually scarify the existing ground, but then they'll put a pile of washed sand in there. And then they put like a leaching system in with pipes with holes in it, like
Right.
1.5 or 2 inch pipes, a whole pattern, and then they cover it, and then the purpose is the water gets pumped in there, and then it evaporates or dries or goes into the ground a little bit, a lot goes up.
So this is all,
That's what she said.
No, it's not, I don't, you'd really have to ask Chad. My understanding is it's a traditional system, but they actually bring in a ton of fill and build it up to get the ground high enough to get it 6 feet above groundwater. But that, again, you'd have to ask Chad about all that. But essentially, he, you know, the first time he came, he wanted the variance. He hadn't gone and gotten an engineering group to like say, oh, you know, yes, this is gonna work, and so I kind of stuck my oar in, probably where it shouldn't have been, but I did it anyway, and said, you know, you really should get the science in place before you grant the variance. So they did put him on hold. He went back, he got it all done, and you know, they can show that he's not going to have a negative effect on the water quality. And part of that, though, is that he's the first person to develop out lots out there. So there's still these other 15 lots that potentially somebody could buy and try to develop, but they are very wet. And you know, I don't know if it's possible, but it would be a good idea for the county to even put something into the record that would pop up on a title search that says, currently these do not have sanitation approval, and they may not be able to get sanitation approval.
Maybe we should put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
Yeah, you guys can make a recommendation of that effect to the
I
commissioners.
mean, so they notice it. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want somebody,
Buying without.
but,
And
right.
that's the thing, they should do their due diligence, but most, I would say 85% don't do a single lick of
Well,
due
you got
diligence.
those car salesmen that sell lots. Tom, I'm just kidding.
no, I mean,
So, is this, I know what this is a little bit, I mean, is this a fun
Oh, well, that's the thing,
thing? Because is that cabin that they're building gonna be surrounded by water?
the floodplain
Right.
is not it's not mapped out there, so there is no floodplain to be,
Yeah,
but I mean,
well, the groundwater.
I put it on record like several times that, you know, because he keeps saying that it's not in the floodplain, but it's like, well, no, technically that's not right. It's not in an area that's mapped. If it gets mapped, you will end up with a portion of your lot in the floodplain, because he's right on the river, so a portion is gonna be in.
and sooner or later, that's gonna be mapped.
It may be later, but eventually it will get mapped, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the rest of them, I'm sure, and that's part of the other problem is, for whatever reason, Bill Bear surveyed it several times, so there's a couple of plats on file, and on one of them, he put this wonky floodplain line. It doesn't even like extend across the whole side, it's just sort of in the middle, and there's no kind of defining where he got the line, if it's just something he saw on the ground, or, so, yeah, it's not the best subdivision sitting out there, but it is sitting out there.
Well,
Thank you.
there ought to be some more warning to people
Well, I
Sure,
agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, absolutely.
I would, I mean, there really should be.
Yeah, there really should, I agree, there should be, you should
And
let
should there
people
be a
know that
floodplain designation on that property?
there's a good chance they would end up in either the floodplain, they could end up in the floodway,
Yeah,
which
I
would really be bad.
can't remember how high, you know, I know it was, I have to look there and look at it, but, you know, but you say that it's in our Carter, basically.
Yeah,
So.
and everybody says, oh, it's so marshy in there, and it's like,
Did Chad approve it?
yeah, the one that, the
Just
two
those two
lots,
lots.
yeah, just those two lots, and these are the two lots that sit closest to the road, highest up, so they're only gonna get problematic from there on
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Because the further down into that field you go, the squishier it gets.
Okay, well, let's say, maybe put that on our agenda for next month too, Linda. Okay, everybody, anything else there? Public comments? Okay,
All right.
our road list amendment, it looks
I-
pretty good.
I do.
Okay, sorry, Lynn.
Oh, that's okay. Going back to what you were saying, Linda, about that area by Moose Lake, the maps are outdated, aren't they? Isn't that, when the maps are in the floodplains?
That particular area has never been mapped. It's just in what they call an unmapped area. So if it's in an unmapped area, the county has no jurisdiction at all to even say anything about a floodplain in there.
Well, with the growth policy, especially 2020 coming up, the growth policy has to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
The maps too, and they have to be updated too for the county roads and for the floodplains, and things have changed since then.
Yeah, and the floodplain maps are fairly new. They're like, what, 2016? And that's coming, that update was done after, what, I think the one before that was in the 80s.
It was, yeah.
So it's, and the FEMA maps cannot be updated by the counties. They have to be updated by FEMA. So we're really just kind of sitting there waiting for FEMA to update things. And as I had told the commissioners, you know, this year when FEMA came in and said, well, what would you like to see mapped? I actually had asked for Rumsey and the Maxville Road area, Boulder Creek and stuff up in there, because those are the areas that are building out faster, and they said no. FEMA said no. FEMA denied those two. So.
No, they're gonna do down by us again.
Yeah, on the Clark Fork. So it's like, you know, you can only put it out there, and I mean, it'll take, what do you think, Gail, 4 to 6 years for them to do the mapping study?
It does, that's what it took last time.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at another 4 to 6 years before you could even re-ask to have them look at Rumsey and Maxville area.
So if they buy that property and they get flooded out or something happens tough, their insurance won't cover it either.
No,
No.
well, I don't know if their insurance would or not, probably not, but
That's good.
they probably exclude it because it's in an unmapped area.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think you'd even get insurance for it.
very doubtful, and
Not
that's
flood
why
insurance, yeah.
putting a red flag when that gets sold, that it is,
Right. Because we knew Project VoteSmart wasn't interested in selling them,
right,
but now you have to assume that the person who's going to get the land is going to want to maximize their,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's even sold, but whoever gets it.
Okay. So getting back to the road list amendment, we pretty
Okay.
much hashed that out without.
This is just your final draft, what it'll look like, and there's one big change in this. It kind of has the designation for which each of these are, but, sorry, you gotta get all the way back to page 7. So instead of going to the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management and waiting literally years for them to try to figure out what they want to say, and then having them argue it the second we put it in place anyway, I just added this statement in here that says, you know, these are all other roads within Granite County. We have not researched what ones are owned by federal agencies, and it's your responsibility to go find out if a federal agency has an easement on the road that you're interested in. So I kind of put all the Forest Service roads back into just this main all other roads list. and I did ask Wayne to look at the headings, and he was good with the little headings. And then, of course, I added this nice little disclaimer note that I actually get off of the cadastral that says, you know, this, it's for informational purposes only. We did not produce the list for legal purposes, and if you want to prove something, you need to go research it through the records. Yeah. So, any changes on the headings?
I have a question about, on the subdivision roads,
Mm-hmm,
on page 4.
mm-hmm.
Okay, we got Ida Court,
Where are you?
on the right-hand side, halfway down Ham Ranchettes.
Uh-huh,
Ida Court, that definitely is a subdivision road. Sawmill Fishing Access Road, that gets you to the access. Snook Trail, north and south, and Snook Way. But this is where we've had problems in the past with the county coming out there to snowplow. On Snook Trail and both Sawmill Fishing Road, they don't do Ida Court. Scott Page does that privately himself. But Sawmill Fishing Access Road, Snook Trails north and south are done by the county.
and this is not like to say what the county is maintaining or not maintaining, or plowing or not. This is just to say these roads were put in as part of
As part of
subdivision.
subdivision, okay. Because like I say, I see in the other ones, on the other page of, where was it? And towards the end, I think it was, they did list, you know, Rainbow Court over there. Let's see.
Rock Creek acreage,
Yeah.
that's on page 5.
Okay,
Mhm.
let me get back there. Mm-hmm,
And those, again, are basically the same ones as what Schnook Trail is, and Rainbow Court, Valley Warden Lane. They don't do Valley Warden Lane because it's too narrow. Okay, they do Irish Lane, they do Island Drive, and Rainbow Court.
yep, and they may do different subdivision roads in there, but yeah, it's just trying to say these were set up as roads for
Okay.
a subdivision.
All right, well,
And that there is no official county designation for
Well,
them. They're just simply subdivision roads, and, you know,
right.
So,
And the thing, real quick, the thing that the landowners in that area came up with was they said that because there's postal service delivery to all those addresses on those court drives and lanes and ways, that they are required by the county to plow. That's what the guideline has been. But I don't know if that's going to continue, you know, hopefully it will. But it's weird too because Brewster Creek Road is not listed in there, I don't think anywhere.
Brewster Creek is under the Class 2 county roads,
Okay. all
so
right.
it's listed as a county road.
And what's weird and strange about that, again, just like Sawmill Fishing Access Road, the Forest Service is contracted to grade those two roads.
Mhm.
Not maintain them for plowing, but the grading comes later.
Yep, and that's the thing, this is not, I mean, and that's why the little designations are kind of saying, you know, these are primary roads, these are secondary roads, these are roads that are in an as-is condition. Because we're not trying to say, well, you have to do this maintenance for this one, or you have to do that maintenance for this one. That's all up to the county and the Forest Service and whatever contracts they're doing.
so can I ask this? Will this have to be amended should the Finn
Mhm.
subdivision go in,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep, it would have to be amended for that. And, you know, I would say every couple of years, we would have to, excuse me, get a list from Matt Pearson, just say, you know, what roads have you added, what have you
Okay.
put in, what have you renamed?
Okay.
Question on page, what they call the Rocky J Ranch area, is the Rocky J is the ranch at Rock Creek.
Oh.
I mean, it's the same
I'll change that.
basic, you know,
Ranch
Street
Road.
is that
Road
town?
and all those, but it's not really a subdivision either. But
No.
it is the ranch at Rock Creek now instead of Rocky J.
And yeah,
You know,
I'll put a little note on that one that says that this really wasn't a
911
subdivision, but
might
it's got its own little map in there.
be yeah.
But I'll change that and add a little note.
Unless that's what they call it. I mean, it is, you know,
It's hard to say, because if you look it up on cadastral, it might say that, but it might not be
That now.
that, because that stuff doesn't
they're
get
all the same,
updated.
it's just a different owner.
It
Yeah.
is, and it could be down the road, it'll end up being a
Yeah,
different owner.
and we might end up changing the
Maybe,
name on
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I will change it, because
Sure.
we should have that.
As
both
updated, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So do we need to,
I don't know, it's just,
Just
because you
ready to
voted on
go?
it last time,
Okay.
it's just a, kind of the finished product for you to
okay,
look at and see what they're gonna end up with. Because before this, you've just seen little bits at a time, so this is kind of the whole thing together.
Okay. Alrighty, then, next meeting date, does anybody have a
September 5th.
calendar? The 6th?
5th.
5th. Alrighty, okay, so we have the next meeting date set. I guess we're all done with everything. Let's adjourn the meeting,
Motion.
6:50.
And
All in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry, the public comment period, that was after the minutes, that was part of the public comment period,
Yeah,
was before that?
yeah, we said that a while back.
I couldn't hear, I thought you were just commenting on Moose Lake.
Oh,
No, we're making other comments. If you want to make something to add to it, that's fine.
Well, there's still 7 members, right, on the planning board?
yep, it's still a 7-member board, we're still waiting
For
for
two.
seats to be filled.
And you haven't heard anything?
I have not heard anything.
I talked to Mike Cahill today, and he said you were the only applicant. So they decided to renotice
Again?
it again.
Wow, they don't want me, do they?
Hmm.
I mean, they're looking for 2, I've applied, they should decide already, and then just open it up for the other one, I would think, if that's the way it should be.
So if we did reopen for public comment, can I just clarify something on the Granite County road classification document? How are you defining collectors when you say class 1 and class 2? You said class 1 county roads are considered to be those county roads that are primary collectors, secondary collectors. What's,
Yes, I probably should define a collector somewhere. So essentially, those roads that have the majority of driveways, other secondary roads coming into them, things, so that's kind of what I think.
And
What
this
I
is-
think they are, yeah, feel free to add something.
okay. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Sort of by, population and landowners and homeowners. Sort of deal.
how much use it is.
How much use it gets, that's a very good way of saying it. How much use it gets. And closed again.
Close it up again.
Oh. Oh, here's your
Don't forget.
Ruth, almost like that.
Okay. What's his last name?
Lannis, L-A-N-E-S.
He's not a man.
Yeah, he's based in Anaconda,
He's Tri-County.
and he's Tri-County.
Okay, he's sure. Okay.
Yeah, he does Deer Road, yeah, Powell, Deer Road,
How do you spell his last name?
L-A-N-E-S.
Liz, no Lanes.
Yeah, Lannis.